Have you ever just stopped and looked around at our world and wondered why it's so full of contrasts? Why one place has these gleaming skyscrapers and super fast internet, while another is just trying to get the basics right? Well, today, we're diving into exactly that, this huge, complicated world of global development.
And really, it all kicks off with this one massive question. Why are some countries rich and others poor? It sounds so simple, right? But the answer is anything but. Thankfully, geographers have given us some tools to start figuring it all out.
And the main tool in their toolbox, the whole framework, is built around one key idea: development. That's the lens they use to measure and, just make sense of all these global differences.
So what even is development? Well, first off, it is absolutely not just about money. It's way, way bigger than that. Of course, economic growth is part of it, but it's also about how a country uses technology, and most importantly, it's about human welfare, the actual quality of life for the people living there.
Okay, so to make comparing all these different countries a little easier, geographers use a kind of shorthand. You'll hear these acronyms a lot. There are HICs, which stands for high-income countries, think the UK or Japan. Then you've got LICs, or low-income countries. And then there's this really interesting middle group, the NEEs, Newly Emerging Economies, like Brazil or India, which are just changing at an incredible pace.
All right, let's bring this down to earth with an example many of us will know well. The UK. It's classified as a high-income country, an HIC. So what does that actually mean for the people who live there day to day?
So what does it feel like to be in an HIC? Well, it's really about having a strong foundation. You've got good infrastructure. All the stuff we kind of take for granted, like reliable roads and fast internet. This allows for a high-tech economy that's heavy on services. But for the actual people, it means better access to good schools and quality healthcare. It all adds up to more opportunities and a higher quality of life.
Now let's switch gears a bit, because one of the biggest, most transformational stories in global development today is happening in those low-income countries and newly emerging economies. We're talking about a massive, historic movement of people from the countryside into cities.
This huge trend has a name, and it's called urbanization. It's simply the process where a bigger and bigger slice of a country's population decides to live in cities. And believe me, this is reshaping the world as we know it.
But that just begs the question, right? What on earth would make millions of people leave behind everything they've ever known, their homes, their communities in the countryside, to take a huge gamble on life in the big city?
Geographers have a really clear way of thinking about this. It breaks down into two forces. First, you've got what they call push factors. These are all the negative things, like poverty or maybe a lack of opportunity, that are literally pushing people away from the rural homes. And then you have pull factors, the promise of something better in the city that acts like a magnet, pulling them in. And what's really fascinating when you look at it like this is how these factors are almost perfect mirror images of each other. A lack of jobs or schools pushes someone out of the countryside, but the chance for better job opportunities and access to those same services pulls them toward the city. It's this powerful mix of escaping real hardship like poverty and chasing the hope of a better life. So what actually happens when people arrive? Well, the reality of city life in many LICs and NEEs is complicated. It's a mix of incredible new opportunities and, honestly, some immense challenges. It truly is a story of both hope and hardship, side by side.
And this is the really critical point. Those pull factors, that dream of the city, they aren't always a guarantee. I mean, sure, there are more hospitals and doctors, but that doesn't mean you can get access to them. There might be more jobs available, but unemployment can still be a huge problem. People might find housing, but it could be really poor quality, with bad sanitation and no reliable clean water. It's a massive trade-off.
Now, I know all of this might feel like it's happening a world away, but here's the thing. The economies of these growing cities and the lives of the people in them are deeply, deeply connected to us right here through global trade. In fact, the story of the things we buy every single day often starts in places just like these.
And this is why it matters to us. Because every single choice we make as a consumer, the coffee we grab in the morning, the chocolate bar we eat in the afternoon, that choice can have a real, tangible impact on the lives and incomes of farmers and workers thousands of miles away. And this awareness has led to movements trying to create a more ethical system, like Fairtrade.
So let's take a look at something like Fairtrade. How does it try to help? Well, on the one hand, the advantages are pretty powerful. It's designed to ensure a fair wage, which can literally lift people out of poverty.
It also includes something called a social premium. That's extra money that communities can invest directly in things they need, like local schools or healthcare. But it's not a silver bullet. These products can be more expensive for us to buy, and right now, the Fairtrade label is only on a limited range of goods.
And that kind of leaves us with a final thought to chew on. Understanding all this, development, migration, trade, it isn't just about learning facts for a test. It's about recognizing that we are all part of this deeply interconnected global system. So the real question for all of us is, in this connected world, what role do we actually play? And what are our responsibilities?